All right. Welcome to uNikly Parent to Parent episodes. Actually, this episode is a part of an 8-episode series produced by uNiK International School. We're trying to create a space for real-life conversations about parenting, child development, and more importantly, educating the parents about parenting. My name is Ben Musique. I'm an educator, business consultant. I'm an 11-year parent who has made a lot of mistakes and trying to reflect on these mistakes. I'll be hosting this series. And I'm so happy as well to introduce Etiler, one of the parents from uNiK International School Parents Community. Etiler Mansour, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Right.
Okay, Etiler Mansour. She is a mother of 2 amazing boys, age 3 and 6. She was raised in France and she has a background in finance from the Sorbonne University. She's with us here today to share her perspectives, thoughts, insights about a very important topic, which is emotional intelligence. I'm not going to tell you what this topic's all about. You must have read, you must have heard, you must have seen experts speak on this particular topic. But today, we're going to go ahead and dive into what worked for us as parents, what did not actually work for us as parents with our kids. And we want you to watch this and relate to our experiences and probably share yours with us. So please, everybody, help me welcome Etiler. Hello, Etiler.
Hi, Ben. How are you today?
I'm very excited.
Same here.
Yes, happy, excited, and at the same time a little nervous.
I understand.
You understand why I'm
Yes.
okay? Good. So the thing is, today we're talking about emotional intelligence. So if we take a look at emotional and intelligence, let's now look at the word emotional. When I was a child, I cried. I remember my father telling me, hey, listen, do not cry. And when I finished my university life and, went into work and I was talking to one of my colleagues, having a little issue with him, and then I talked to my boss about it, my boss told me, hey, come on, Ben, you're being a little emotional. I remember what happened back then and what my boss told me back then. I was like, it is okay to be emotional. It's actually healthy to be emotional. So today we're talking about emotional intelligence. And I know that you have read and researched a lot about this topic, and you have experimented with your own kids about it. So you're welcome. Let's talk about it. What is emotional intelligence?
So emotional intelligence is basically embracing and accepting, I feel sometimes, our emotions, because I feel like we live in a world where people are shy about their emotions.
Right.
So I think it's very important to teach our kids about their emotions, because I feel like it has a big impact on their life and
so let's
on their
reframe
adult life.
All right, so let's reframe this. Emotional intelligence means or is that you are smart about your feelings, about your emotions.
Yes.
Okay, so you're emotionally smart. Okay, so you said that you teach your kids about their emotions. So teaching our kids about
to recognize first their emotions, to label their emotions, because I feel like we are born with like a lot of emotions. A kid, when comes out from their mom's belly, the first thing they do is cry. Right. So for example, with my kid, my first, I bought this book when he was maybe 18 months, and it's like it describes all the emotions. And there's this unicorn that turns every time a different color. When it's happy, it's yellow maybe, and when it's angry, it's red, and when it's shy, it's blue, and there is like many different, and it comes with like kind of a clock, okay? And every day we used to wake up, and I used to tell Cheyenne, like for example, set the cursor, whatever
the arm,
the
clock,
on how do you feel?
All right.
And I would explain to him like happy, what happy means, what angry means, what jealousy is.
Okay, so technically, for the amazing audience here, emotional intelligence is where the child is able to recognize their own feelings.
Exactly.
And to be okay with these feelings,
And
no
let
matter how positive or negative or could be neutral about it. Okay, so the second step is, okay, let's say I'm a child. I've recognized my feelings. I know how I feel. And probably I know why I feel that way. The next step, before we started shooting, you were talking to me about an expert that you've reading about. They've presented really nice techniques into how parents could tackle the, let's say, negative emotions that their children may have. Walk us through this, please.
So basically, with my own kids, I told you, we will recognize, and there's this techniques I remember whenever Cheyenne was angry. By the way, my mother, God bless her soul, used to have a daycare, and she had different parents.
Right.
And sometimes I was there and I talked to parents, and I was listening to their ways of coping with emotions and stuff. And I remember this dad saying, whenever she's angry or sad or upset, I tell her, I walk her through her emotion. I know, I understand you're angry. I understand you're sad. It must feel hard, blah, blah, blah. And then now, once she's a little bit calm, now we're going to put our anger here and we're going to blow it away.
Wow.
And then she does it, and then for her the emotion is gone. So that's why it's identifying, feeling, and releasing. And that's what exactly the expert says. She says at the beginning, when she had her first child, her goal was to make her kid happy. But she realized it was impossible to have a happy kid all the time. So she said, I had to find a way to manage my kids' emotions. So she said, I realized that a simple thing can make a difference, listening. So whenever her kid would come with a big emotion, she would just sit down okay, tell me all about it. How do you feel? I understand it must be hard, and then the release happens.
And probably some follow-up questions about it. So you built on the input that the child is giving you and asking a follow-up question.
And most importantly, I feel it's not shaming the kid about their emotions. Oh my God, you're being annoying, you're crying so much. Or
you're just being too emotional. Oh, come on, you're a drama queen.
Exactly, and that's where she says there is 3 ways of dealing with emotions.
Okay.
Right? So there is repression. It's when the kid comes to his parents and with an angry face or sad face or maybe crying or something, we're gonna say, oh my God, get over it, you're
forget about it.
So what the kid does is bury that emotion. He will not release it and grow with that emotion. And whenever he's an adult, he will probably develop addictions to help him cope with, run away from his emotions, because he just want to bury it, right?
Because it was not healthily addressed.
Exactly.
When he was a child, or expressed, or released. Probably you don't want to really make your child feel good about it. What you need to do is only give it a listening ear.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. This reminds me of a saying. I just was, going over a couple of things. I was trying to make a list of, words that we can associate with feelings. And then there's this guy, what he said? Let me just put that. Okay. There's this guy, Brene Brown. He says we cannot selectively numb emotions. When we numb the painful emotions, we also numb the positive ones. You're not going to look at what this Indian expert that you spoke of. When we concentrate only on the emotional feelings, you are neglecting the other natural aspect of your child development, which is going through and recognizing the negative thoughts. Why I say thoughts? Because technically how you feel affects how you...
That's very important. We become what we think about.
Right, and what we think is what we develop to become.
That inner voice, yeah.
Right? And who we are as people that come from the way we think is what we do, is how we behave. And you know, there's something really interesting, that unexpressed emotions are developing sicknesses, and development sicknesses are guaranteed diseases.
Exactly.
I've learned this the hard way.
You know, me too. Me too. It's sad because, you know, it's such an important subject in a human life, I feel, and like it's very neglected, you know. And you know, there is this. Let me go through my notes. There is this Gabrielle Bernstein. She's like a psychologist, blogger, holistic, like she's spiritual a bit, and she says the way we experience the world around us is a direct reflection of the world within us.
Oh, right.
Okay. And there is Ken Robinson who says the aim of education is to understand the world around us and the world within us.
I love that.
Yeah. So I feel like what parents need to understand, that it's very important to teach a kid to understand, to connect with himself or herself, and to work on that inner voice, because we grow with that inner voice.
It is striking that you mentioned this, because this takes me to the next point, actually. So technically it's recognizing emotions within it, right?
Yes.
So I'm just being smart.
That's gonna reflect
to myself, within myself, about my emotions. I know that I feel bad. I know that I feel frustrated. And I know it's okay to feel embarrassed, you know? Let's talk about the other side. When you understand how other people feel, not necessarily about you.
That's compassion.
That's compassion.
Yes.
Right.
That's so by making a kid emotionally intelligent, you gotta develop that side, that compassionate side within him, because the same way I'm going to sit, like that lady I told you about that has a woodlight school, she said that one day her way of like dealing with her kids' emotions was to listen to them and to walk them through and to release. And then one day she was preparing dinner and one of her kids came and with a big emotion, and Mommy, I need to talk to you right now. And she said, I was so busy. I looked at her and I said, can you hold on to your feelings just a couple of hours? She said, my kid looked at me and said, are you kidding me? She said, that's her 5-year-old. She said, her 10-year-old, she said, don't worry, Mommy, I'll take care of it. She took her sister to the room to talk to her, and she said, I was so curious because it like shocked her that her other child would like take care of the youngest emotion. And she said, I went and I was looking by the door and I saw how she walked her through. And she's like, oh, tell me about it, and it must be hard. And she said, after that they started giggling, and then she walked her through, and she said, it made me happy to see that my kid is doing exactly what I did for him. So she learned that compassionate side from her mom, and that there where she said, kids can only be what they see. They cannot be what they not see.
It's interesting. You know, I'm just going through, the tons of books, by experts on emotional intelligence and parenting. But when you just go ahead and read, so you have a lot of information, you feel like I just want to go ahead and apply. When it comes to application,
it's very hard.
That's the challenging part. That's the struggle. So this is what worked for you, and it's interesting, but what did not work?
I think first of all, as a human being, we need to understand that it can't be perfect.
Yeah.
That it will be moments where you want have the tool to deal with your kid's emotion, and like you're gonna be overwhelmed, and it's very normal. There's moments where you're gonna make mistakes with them, and there's moments where you're gonna, I don't think there is a rule that applies to everybody. I think it's through experience. I saw this mom saying that I had to custom education for my kids. She had 4 boys. For my kids, individually, it's like you're going to the tailor and you're making a suit. It can't be the same for everyone. So I had to adapt to each kid because you're dealing with the human.
There are no quick fixes either. And when you
gotta try.
Yes,
different things.
When you've read a lot, you feel that you know enough to do well on the subject itself. But when it comes to real life, when you see your child coming up to you being bullied, when you mentioned that it resonates well with your child, when you proact on how they feel rather than react. I just want to go ahead and interact with you. I'm not saying that I know it all, but what I'm saying, I'm just going to listen to you and help you recognize these feelings.
Exactly.
Okay? So we need to show them as well a good example, teaching them by showing an example. So look at this point now. So if we put things into a framework when it comes to emotional intelligence, number 1 is to teach the kids how to recognize
and label the feeling. And I think most of all, there's techniques we can use, and it can be very there's so many theories and stuff, but I think the main ingredient is love and compassion.
Okay, so hold a second, please. Recognize their feelings. So they should have enough vocabulary in their own language to be able to express how they feel.
Exactly.
Because as they grow in age, they just know, I feel bad, I feel good, and then I feel hungry, I get tired, right? But they still need to understand how to recognize.
You have to educate them. That's why I had that book from Shannon, where, like, for example, there is feelings that could be impacted in a negative way and in a positive way. Jealousy. Let's take jealousy as an example. Jealousy for kids, sometimes it could be a negative way, but us as a parents, we have to explain to them that it could also be a drive. It's not a competition. Maybe you're jealous of my son one time hit his friend because he was coloring better than him in class. And he never had like a violent background or I never experienced this with him. I was surprised when the teacher, I came and picked him out and she said he punched his friend. And I said, why? She's like, we didn't understand. He just got up and
got out of the blue.
We went home and I was like, why? And then at the beginning, he was very shy about it. And I said, was he coloring better than you? He said yes. And I said,
so you elicited from him. You helped him express.
Yes, exactly. That's why recognizing and labeling is very important, and identifying the feeling, So I told him, it's normal to be jealous, but it's not normal to react like this about it.
So you separated how he felt from how he acted.
Exactly. I said your reaction is wrong. You didn't know, that was wrong maybe, or you didn't understand your feeling. But as a mom, I had to explain to him that jealousy is a natural feeling, and it's on you how to deal with it. You cannot, if you're jealous of him coloring, you should learn how to color.
So you're reframing the functionality of the feeling itself.
Exactly.
So you are
turning it in a
positive, impactful instrument for him to have a different drive from it.
So then I said, if you wanted to color like him, you have to learn from him. Maybe you can ask him, teach me how to color. And that would create a connection and a bond between him and his friend, instead of creating a hateful relationship and resentment and I'm jealous of him, he's better than me, and this comparison,
This really rings the bell. to me. I was thinking that a mistake that parents have made is that, okay, oh, I'm sorry you're feeling this way. Let's go ahead and watch a movie. Let's go, I'm going to buy you an ice cream. Let's forget about it, right?
You could do that with anger, I feel sometimes.
No, it's unhealthy.
Yes.
I'm not actually addressing.
In a physical way it is. Because imagine you're receiving a kid that's like in distress. He's very angry, crying, frustrated. His brain is releasing too much cortisol. So we want to calm that. We don't want him to damage his brain, especially at that age. Cortisol is highly damaging for a kid's brain that's in development, right? So what you're gonna do, you can deflect, or
momentarily.
Come, let's have something, and then you can walk him through it after. But like you should calm him down first.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. There is not one rule to apply. We can apply to everything. We have to, on the moment, identify and deal with it the best way. And I'm not saying we're gonna be perfect. Possible. Exactly. We're gonna make
there isn't a best way
yeah.
because every child is unique.
Exactly.
The thing is, so we talked about jealousy, we talked about love, compassion, we talked about anger. They're really big emotions that every child, every adult, every senior, goes through, even at work, at home, So let's talk about other emotions. We have frustration. We have embarrassment. We have resentment. Right? We have joy. We have lots of positive feelings, and negative feelings.
There is a movie about it, actually. It's Inside Out. And you see, it's very interesting because it's like different characters. You have joy, you have sadness, you have and then you have the brain, and it's like there is a kind of a control, a keyboard, whatever, and whoever takes the lead, and it shows you when anxiety takes the lead, what it does. It brings fear, it brings anger, it brings so many sadness.
It's a cluster of
and then when the
collective
joy comes, and then you see that the whole things become harmonious, and it's very for me it was a very interesting movie and a very positive movie for the kids, because it really taught them what negative feelings can do to them and what positive feelings, and how can we work through the negative feelings with the positive feelings.
So it's all about emotional control.
Yeah.
You recognize, right? So let's put it in a framework. Let's call it the 4R framework. R. The first R is to recognize how you feel and to understand it is okay to feel this way. I feel hungry. Well, it's not okay for me to be hungry, by the way. I feel angry. I need to recognize that it's okay to feel angry. Okay. And the second R is regulate. I gotta have some self-control techniques where I like take a deep breath, breathe in,
very important.
Breathe it out, take a walk momentarily, take a hot shower, a cold shower, draw it out, draw something.
Or write it down. The iceberg. I don't know if you heard about the iceberg technique. So they say that the iceberg technique, it's basically drawing an iceberg for the kids. So the iceberg, the big part is underwater. It's like hidden emotions, and the kid will write like on the upper part, like how he feels, and on the down part, the things that he's shy to talk about, and then it brings it up, and like it's very interesting.
And guess what? You feel better when you've expressed how you feel about your emotions.
I feel like once you write it down, writing is very powerful. Once you write down something, you kind of release it. I agree. And for children,
that takes me to the third R, which is release. You said that. Thank you. So recognize, regulate, and then go ahead and release. What point? I always have this very interesting conversation with my 11-year-old daughter. We were talking about emotional release, and she said something really interesting. She said, as long as I do not hurt myself and hurt anyone else, me releasing these feelings. That's fine. So it is okay to feel so angry, she says, but it's not okay
to take it out on people.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
that's very important.
That's the third part. What do you think the fourth part can be?
Reflect.
Reflect. Thank you, Giselle. How do you teach your kids, or how do you, as a parent, reflect on your emotions?
Oh.
Okay, that's a hard question.
Yes. So actually, my main emotional whatever education came with me first.
Right.
Not with my kids. Because growing up, I grew up with a lot of anxiety. And I reached a point when I was in university, my mom was very critical and very, how do you say it, grade driven. So your grade defined.
Okay.
Okay.
School grades.
Yes, school grades. So she was obsessed with that. And we had like school and school at home. We had like tutoring and until 8 p.m. So we were like very like academic kids, let's say. But for me, I developed this sort of anxiety because I was always scared of my mom, what she's gonna think about my grade, like especially if I didn't.
Did you disappoint her? Is she happy with you?
And I developed.
Am I good enough?
Yes, and I developed like fear from exams.
Right.
Okay, so even though I was a smart kid and I was doing well at school and everything, but every time I had an exam, it was like a meltdown, an emotional meltdown. I cried a lot. I was scared. Sometimes in university, sometimes I spent the night up studying, but I wouldn't go to the exam. Okay? So then after that, it affected me so, and I didn't know how to deal with my anxiety. I didn't even know it was anxiety.
Okay.
You know? And then when I was maybe in university, I lost my hair. I had patches on my hair.
Wow.
And then, you know, you go to doctors and they don't explain to you the reason why. They just say, oh, maybe it's an emotional shock, maybe this, maybe
Stress.
that, maybe yes, but they don't explain it well to you. So then that took me into like kind of a holistic journey and spiritual journey. So I started meditating.
Okay.
Yes, I started meditating and that calmed me down a lot.
That was when you started reflecting on how you felt. So you had a reverse process.
Yes, I didn't even reflect on how I felt. I just needed to calm myself down.
And to revisit these moments and to feel
because I was having so much anxiety and I didn't understand what was the reason. I didn't understand the feeling. I didn't understand anything. So then I got into meditation through one of my friends who said, like, download this app. It's going to help you sleep at night, for example. Because I was sleeping and I was like this. And, you know, in the morning I had my marks of my nails on my skin because, you know, when you're anxious, you're like tense, right? And then I started meditating, and from meditating I started like listening to podcasts and like to psychologists and to many things, and that walked me through this journey. And then when I had my son, like I tried to be like what I didn't receive. I'm not blaming my mom for it. I love my mom, but
it's what it's not. You've done a great job.
Yeah.
You know, having to go through what you had to go through and then understanding where you were and taking action to rectify what happened. That takes a real man, you know. So congratulations. My question, Giselle, how did you avoid that happening with your own children?
So I started teaching Cheyenne at a very early age about his emotions. Yeah.
So Cheyenne is in his first grade at uNiK International School.
Exactly.
Right, okay. As parents, we all want our kids to do well at school. And I think that's a fair deal. We want them to do well because we want them to feel good about themselves. But I think if we take one step backwards, we want them to do well because we want to feel good about them too. That's the point. So tell me about your perspective on this.
Maybe a lot of people are not going to be happy. But I think it's, I don't know how to formulate it. I think the competition behind it bothers me. You know, like when you take your kid to school and you know, like they're basically, in France they call it evaluation. So they evaluate the kids' knowledge kind of, and compare it to other kids, because at my time we would, like, you know, do how do you say it, classement in French, like, you know, like you are the first of class, he's the second, there's the third, ranking.
Right. Who's the top? Who's the second top?
And I think this is very damaging. You know, because I think we're not going to school to be the best of all. We're going to school to learn, and we're gonna assimilate knowledge in different ways. You're not gonna get the same, basically, sometimes point of view from a class than me. Maybe I would have a different point of view than you. That doesn't mean I didn't assimilate the knowledge that was given to me. But the exam wants all the kids to be on the same basically
assessment criteria.
Exactly.
You know?
But then
they treat everyone
so different.
Of the same. They treat every child as if they are the same. I don't want to say product, but the same being. You know,
and we expect from them the same things.
Results. So this is what you meant by educational system. This takes me to a very interesting point. As parents, you know, they the point is here in uNiK international school. My daughter has been here for a couple of 3-4 happy years now, and I love the way they educate students. When I say educate, that doesn't mean that they teach the kids. They teach books to kids. They actually teach the kids how to think, how to, you know, to be critical, to be okay with themselves.
And that's why emotional intelligence is very important, because if you prioritize intellect to emotions, it would be too much contradictions and conflicts going on. But if you privilege like emotions, then intellect learning will be easy and infinite, because the kid is not shy of failing. The kid is not comparing himself to others, because he knows that he's different than the other one, and he can learn from his friend, and his friend can learn from him. But there is no competition. He's not better than his friend, and his friend is not. But they can complete each other.
Right. So life skills. What I've noticed that in this school, life skills are focused on, because as a parent, I do not want my daughter to think about it this way. I don't want my daughter to survive. I want her to thrive. So I want her to have the skill set, the life skill set, you know, to be able to recognize who she is, how she feels, right? And then to take it to the next step by herself. And yeah, of course, I'd be happy if she's on top, if she's the top, and she has that perfect score. But that's not realistic in real life, outside in the business, you know, domains, talking to people, dealing with people, having to report, dealing with...
But that's the thing, like we have to teach our kids to live their life, not to, in French we say, vis ta vie ne la subis pas. I don't know how subir is in English. Yes. Yani, you live your life, you don't, you're not living your life by accident, you're not living your life because the system tells you that you have to graduate at 18, you have to, from high school, you have to things. No. If you want, like, look at Finland. It's the best educational system in the world.
The happiest.
And why? They give freedom to the kids.
Right.
A lot. They give them a power of decision, you know? And if a kid don't wanna go to school for a year, government will finance their, like, trips and give them that space.
This incentive, you know?
Exactly. So it's developing that love of learning within themselves. I feel like in the average and the normal system is the kid has to follow too many things, so he loses himself in that process, you know? Like, it's not, I feel like they don't do things by choice, they do things because it's imposed.
It's part of the system.
Yeah.
So that's why uNiK. That's why uNiK's cool. What we look at is like, oh, it actually represents and presents the name within the philosophy that they have. They raise a unique kid that is able and capable, to think for themselves. With this empowerment, looking at the 4R framework again, recognize, regulate, release safely, right, and reflect. That is a very interesting, piece of the process when you reflect, when you sit back as a parent. I did the right thing with my child. Or what went well? What didn't go well? Why? What could I have done differently to make it better?
Yeah.
Right. What could I have asked my child to make them feel, let's say, better about themselves? Keeping that in mind, it is okay to feel bad. Go sit with it.
Yeah.
It is okay to feel bored, by the way.
Yeah.
Go to your room, experience how you feel when you feel bored.
I taught my kids that being bored is a good thing.
Why?
Because it raises creativity.
All right.
Right? When you're bored, there where you become creative. So boredness is a good thing.
You come up with things to entertain yourself with, right?
Yeah, it's like we're not supposed to, we live in a world where kids are constantly stimulated and entertained.
Right, especially with the social media.
And dependent, if he's bored, he's gonna come down, I'm bored, I don't have a screen or something. I say, it's good to be bored. Go be bored, you're gonna be more creative.
What do you want to make
something? Exactly. It's a good thing to be bored.
So you don't want to give this advice to that child. We want them to generate their own advice that is tailored to themselves. That's amazing.
And they absorb, sometimes my child surprises me because I always tell him, sometimes, he said, yes, I know I'm a bad kid. I'm when he's going off or something, I said, don't say these things about yourself. Words are very powerful and you should not speak like this about yourself. And one day his grandma, we were in a car and she was saying, oh my God, I did this, I'm so stupid. And she said, Momani, don't say you're stupid.
Okay.
Your words are very powerful. Don't talk like this about yourself. And then it hit me because I always thought I was talking and he's not listening and he's not understanding, I thought. I thought it was a conversation that was way bigger than his age,
Right.
But no, he really got it.
They're smart.
Yeah.
They're smart. Okay. Now, it's sad that this episode is coming to an end. We've got a couple of minutes, but it is okay to be sad. You don't see that.
It is okay to be sad.
Okay. But before we bring this to an end, I've learned that being happy all the time, constantly, is an unrealistic goal to set.
It's not being happy the most. I feel like it's being blissful, you have to be so grounded inside of you and at peace inside of you that nothing that happen in your life can bother your inner peace.
But there are a lot of things.
No, but that's the thing. We have to go through life. You're gonna go through challenges, through stresses, through so many things.
Arguments.
But if you're gonna be stuck to that feeling and you're gonna, let's say something that goes wrong in business, you lost money, and if you're gonna sit and cry about it, is it gonna change something? No. The key is to be at peace with yourself, no matter the circumstances.
With a recognition that these negative emotions are part of the growth process.
Release is the most important thing, because if you hold on to it, it's not going to help you.
Question I'd like to ask you before we do this at end: do you think being happy, raising a happy child, is a decision that every parent can make now, today?
Overall, I feel like it's our goal to raise a happy child in general, but he's gonna go through emotions, or she's gonna go through emotions, which is normal. But yes, it's very important for
to decide as a parent that I want to be equipped with the knowledge, right, with the tools, with the techniques, right.
That's gonna make his general condition happy, but
no
not every minute of his life is gonna be happy.
And do not compare your child
to another.
To someone else's child.
Very damaging.
It's unfair to you as well as a parent, right? Okay, that was very informative, very rich. I did enjoy that conversation with you, and I hope that also our parents as well have enjoyed that. Please share with us, your thoughts, write comments, tell us what you think, what you liked, what you did not like. Tell us your experiences with your children, if fine with you, or any experiences that you've read or heard or seen before. And let us know what topic you would like us to talk about in the next episode. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Okay. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.